The Senate is holding a procedural vote to advance his nomination to what looks to be ultimate confirmation. I want to bring in our political panel. Mara Gillespie is here with me at the desk in New York. Megan Hayes is joining us from D.C. Mara previously advised both former Speaker John Boehner and former Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Megan served as the Director of Message Planning for the Biden administration. Okay, we'll get to Kash Patel in a second. But there was a headline-grabbing press conference this afternoon. I know, ladies and gentlemen, that's a redundancy involving President Trump. Every press conference tends to grab lots of headlines. He was asked, that is to say the president, about Elon Musk and potential conflicts of interest, since we should remind ourselves the world's richest man is also a multi-billion-dollar federal contractor. And there might be conflicts in overseeing all sorts of federal payments. Let's listen to the president.
Any conflicts, I told Elon, any conflicts, you can't have anything to do with that. So anything to do with possibly even space, we won't let Elon partake in that.
Possibly even space, a reference to SpaceX, which is a contractor with the federal government, successful one. Many missions to the International Space Station and satellites. So, Mara, are you reassured by this, or do you think the self-regulating part of the conflict of interest, meaning Elon and the president sort of police this themselves?
I have most concerns about what was the press conference of last week, where you had Elon Musk and his son behind the Resolute desk giving a press conference. And I think for MAGA supporters and those who are big fans of Donald Trump, they should be upset that the president was embarrassed in that way and that Elon Musk took the questions and that he was having what was a presidential press conference and running the show and making the president look weak. And for us as Americans, we should want our president to be successful. We should want him to be looking strong on the world stage. That, to me, when you have someone standing behind him and speaking like that, who's not an elected bureaucrat, who's not an elected official, that the people didn't ask to be there, and is speaking on behalf of the president when the president is sitting just idly by, is not a great look for us. And I think that people should be concerned and quite frankly, a little bit worried about what this means in the long term. He owns Twitter or X, he owns Starlink, and he owns SpaceX, as you mentioned. These are things to be concerned about.
Real quick on the politics of what DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is doing, the extensive array of at least attempted federal layoffs. Do you think for Republicans in the House or Senate at the moment there is any political peril here?
Not yet, but when their constituents start to face the Medicaid cuts, or if the funding research for their particular families' health concerns becomes a problem and members start hearing from their constituents, then you're going to hear more from Republicans, especially in areas where a lot of Trump supporters are on Medicaid or rely on Medicare. These programs that need to be restructured. A lot of our systems are broken, and they could be used. They could use some reform, but that doesn't mean you slash everything. And unfortunately, the budget that was pushed out right now puts a lot of cuts on those programs. So I think that once you hear from those constituents who do get upset about the cuts, then members will speak up.
Megan, your take on what we heard from the president about Elon Musk and the potential, as Mara indicated, downstream political risk for Republicans.
Yeah, I think that the White House is trying to have it both ways with Elon Musk. They're trying to say he's not in charge of DOGE, but then they're saying he's a special government employee. That's not the way it works. I worked in the White House in 2 different administrations, and special government employees have the same access as actual employees. So it's interesting that they are trying to have it both ways there, so that I think everyone should be concerned of what Elon Musk is getting access to and how much power that the president is giving him. In terms of the political effects for Republicans downstream, I do think that they're going to pay the consequences for this. If you just look at something like the cuts to USAID, we spend $2 billion just in the United States on in rural farms and communities. That's going to hit red communities. That's going to hit communities that are MAGA supporters, that are supporters of Donald Trump. And those members are going to have to answer to those constituents come in the midterms and in 28. So they will end up paying, they will have some impacts from that moving forward.
And Megan, do you think that when he is likely to be confirmed, hasn't happened yet, but Kash Patel as FBI director might be among the most consequential, high visibility appointments of this president?
I think it will be really interesting to see. I think that they are saying a lot of things in these hearings that are not going to come true. And I think the Senate is hoping and praying that they will have consequences when they are found to be lying. I don't think it's just Kash Patel who's not telling the truth in front of Congress of what they say that they are going to do and implement. I do think it will have long-lasting impacts. I think that he has no real law enforcement experience to be the top law enforcement of our, of our country. I'm sorry. And it's been proven that he's been impactful in trying to lay off people that are rank and file now before he's even confirmed. So it is very concerning, and I think that it will have real impacts across our country.
Mara, how do you assess what appears to be very solid Republican Senate support for Kash Patel?
That's the behind-the-scenes work that's being done. especially in the case of Tulsi Gabbard, senators who had, rightfully so, genuine concerns and should be concerned about her.
And we're sounding wobbly. All stood in line
Very
except
much
Mitch McConnell.
Absolutely. They flipped or changed their tunes after having conversations with the Trump White House, with J.D. Vance. And so that, to me, says that they have more faith in Donald Trump and his administration than they do in the actual candidate themselves. And that's why they voted for her. They're not voting for her, per se. They voted for Donald Trump.
Kash Patel.
They're not voting for Kash Patel. And this, for those who have real concerns, they're voting for Donald Trump. To show their loyalty, to show that they trust him, that they put their faith in him based on the conversations they're having behind the scenes.
And let's just be slightly cynical for a second. They don't want to pick a fight with the MAGA base or the social media echo chamber over any of these confirmation questions.
Well, and you heard that Elon Musk said he was going to spend over $100 million to primary anyone or challenge anyone who stopped or tried to stop the president's will.
There's that name again, Elon Musk. Mara Gillespie here at the desk, Megan Hayes in D.C., thank you very much.